Over the past couple years, I've learned about myself that I love what I am calling new retro games. I mainly just call them this because I have no idea if they actually have a technical name, but it works for me. But essentially the type of games that I'm referring to are games released in 16-bit or 8-bit style, and that's no longer the industry norm. Some key examples would be Celeste or Octopath Traveler, and recently for me, The Messenger. I had heard some good things about this game around the time when it was released, but for whatever reason, I didn't pick it up until a couple days ago. So, I wanted to make this video to maybe encourage all of you to try this game. It still deserves a ton of recognition. So let's get right into what sets this game apart as I tell you why you shouldn't miss out on The Messenger. The story of The Messenger starts out with our protagonist, an 8-bit ninja, in his home village. The world he lives in is plagued by demons attempting to wipe out all living beings. So, in turn, the village that we start at is attacked and all of our protagonist's colleagues and mentors are killed. So, our protagonist attempts to stop the invading demons and eventually runs into the Demon King. Next, the rumored Western hero flies in from, well, the West, and attacks the Demon King, causing it to flee. Then said hero extends a scroll to the protagonist and asks him to carry it to the highest mountain. So, the protagonist accepts and fulfills the role of the messenger, hence the name. A handful of characters are met along the way, like the shopkeeper, a cryptic and mysterious robed figure that supplies you with items needed to complete your journey. Also, upgrades to purchase if you have the time shards, and a fair bit of humor along the way. Another character you'll meet pretty early on is Quarble. That is, if you're bad at the game like I am. The first time you meet Quarble is the first time that you die in the game. He then explains to you that he rewound time to make sure that he saved your life, bringing you back to your most recent save point that you stood at. And due to him saving your life, he'll be taxing you for some of your time shards for a set duration of time. So, after every time you die, you'll be met with one of his condescending comments, only to see him come back and eat some of your time shards. There will be more characters along the journey, but these are the two most important ones that you will see most of your journey. Something that I really enjoyed about this game as well was the fact that the humor was very self-aware. If you thought any of the story mentioned earlier was unoriginal or cliche, don't worry because the game's going to have a character call it out. You'll get comments on the level designs, the character designs, the bosses, etc. I just liked that the developers weren't afraid of breaking the fourth wall, and that they did it in a way that wasn't obnoxious, at least in my opinion. So what is The Messenger in a gameplay sense? I would personally categorize it as a 2D action platformer with a unique gameplay twist that I haven't experienced before. I'll get into what I mean by that later in the video, but because it's technically a spoiler, I'm just going to play it safe and save it for later, and I'll warn you when we get there. Overall though, The Messenger is fairly simple when it comes to mechanics, like a lot of 2D platformers. Throughout the game, you'll have access to sword attacks, shurikens which deplete an energy gauge every time there's one thrown, which is then replenished by defeating enemies or picking up energy shards. You'll also have access to the cloud step mechanic, which basically allows you to jump another time in the air if you've hit something while you're in the air, which this mechanic can go indefinitely. As long as there's something for you to attack, you shouldn't have to hit the ground until you run out of things to attack. You'll also be given climbing claws fairly early into the game, which allow you to latch onto and jump off of walls. You'll be given a glider, which I don't think really needs an explanation, and also a rope dart, which allows you to pull the messenger to whatever target is in front of you, being that an enemy, a wall, a lantern, anything like that. I had a ton of fun every time I would sit down and play this game. The movement felt super fluid and understandable to me. It was all paced well enough that I felt challenged at times, but seldom overwhelmed. The enemy types in The Messenger are very well done. Each and every sprite has several animations in an idle state, when attacking, and they're all very expressive. When the attacks were delivered, they were easy to understand and know how to exploit their weaknesses, so there was rarely any confusion on my part of how I died when I did. I feel that this point is exemplified even better if we look at the bosses in this game. Like games of the era that The Messenger is modeled after, it may take you a couple of attempts to figure out what type of attacks you need to avoid and find windows that you can attack and ultimately the best way you can take down a boss. This was by far one of my favorite parts of The Messenger. There were several times and several encounters when I would be down to the wire with 1 HP left and I would manage to get that last swing in on the boss and take it down. It gave the same level of satisfaction as the games I played growing up with on the SNES, and other older consoles like that, when you would finally beat the boss after several frustrating attempts. I love getting old nostalgic feelings to emerge again when things like this game can capture everything just right. Okay, now it's spoiler time everyone. I will let you know before you click away that the spoiler I'm about to reveal is even shown in the trailers for this game, and you may have already heard about it if you've heard anything about this game. Personally, it was spoiled for me and it didn't take anything away from the experience, so I wouldn't personally consider it shattering for your overall time with this game if you hear about it. It's definitely the most unique aspect of what sets this game apart. But if you still want to go into this game completely fresh, I totally get it, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'll put a timestamp down below in case you want to skip ahead and skip everything that I'm going to talk about here. So right now we're going to give a 5-second countdown to make sure everybody that wants to leave has had plenty of time to click away. Okay, so the big aspect of this game that I was concealing is found about halfway through the game. Once you make your way through the Tower of Time, you then fast forward into the future, which then makes the art style in this game a 16-bit game. This changes the style, the character designs, the music, pretty much everything besides the mechanics of the game itself. Later on, you're even capable of switching back and forth between both timelines. Also, something really cool they do with that is at that point it goes from a 2D action platformer to a Metroidvania style of game. I absolutely loved this aspect of the game and found it super enjoyable. I really appreciated the level of quality they put into this mechanic. They made it very seamless of whenever you would switch from different timelines, the music would change over, the character designs, the environments, everything you could think of. And there was no delay in between. Sometimes you would be halfway between both, and it was just such a cool mechanic. I really loved it. Once I finally made it to this point of the game, I was super excited to go back and check everything out on a new perspective. Every level that you had went through before, you were locked into either the 8-bit or the 16-bit style, but now you could switch between if the game allowed. I'm not going to go too far into the spoiler territory, as there are a lot more reveals to look forward to in this game. I didn't reveal a whole lot of the story because I want people to experience this for themselves. Also, I wanted to say that this game is only $20, and I feel it's well worth that price. And chances are you might already have this game for free if you have Twitch Prime. But I hope that as we get to the end of this video, I've at least explained to you why this game is unique. And I really hope that I've persuaded you to give it a go. It's definitely a special experience, and I'm very happy I decided to go back and try it out. So, let me know if I met my goal. Will you be picking the Messenger up in the future? Have you already played it, and what did you think of it? Also, remember to leave a like if you did. Also, it would mean a lot to me if you hit that subscribe button. You have no idea how excited I get when I see that I get any more subs on my channel. So thank you to everyone who has supported me so far, and all who will support me in the future. And I hope to see all of you in the next one.